Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we will be talking about the long range pattern, also the short range, just talking about the weather as we typically do. As you notice, I have pulled up the National Weather Service Weather Ready Nation map. You could see right off the bat we have a lot of heat advisories, warning, watches for the west, very extreme heat going on across there. We also have quite a bit of severe weather across two regions, really more notably the Florida Peninsula into portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, as well as Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, into Pennsylvania. So yeah, if before we get into this, if you guys would like to support this channel, you could do so by subscribing. Obviously, if you're new, check out the channel first if it's good for you. And if you are a returning viewer, consider liking the videos. That helps out a ton. Otherwise, let's get into this. So again, as I said, this pattern could be getting a bit more active. We've been seeing a lot of dry weather for a good portion of the U.S. There has been many locations, especially across the south, however, that have been absolutely drenched with heavy rainfall. Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, one of the, some of the few to mention. The West is in a crippling drought. They have been for many years now, going through kind of different stages. Right now, it is definitely in one of the worst ones for a while. Hopefully, some relief is coming for them, though, again, that's not as clear as the pattern change for the central United States. Let's take a quick look at what's going on across the areas where we have the severe thunderstorm watches. Notice the severe weather risk is not too high. It's a slight. However, a slight is high enough to where it should be a concern, especially if you have so many thunderstorms. Look at them. All these watches. We have one for Jackson, just east of Parkersburg. Let's take a look at this one and see. Well, okay, that one might have expired. Let's just take a look at some of these. Notice this one has 60 mile per hour gust, penny-sized hail. So again, just barely a severe thunderstorm. But, it's there nonetheless, and torrential rainfall, so definitely it would make your day a bit more miserable if you're caught in this. Again, all of these have torrential rainfall with them as they are in a very moist environment. Notice this one has larger hail. This one is for Taylor, West Virginia, so a bit further to the south. You can see, it has weakened actually. Okay, so yeah, some of them will be weakening, some of them will be strengthening. So it's just an ongoing situation. Again, there's so many, I can't go over all of them. I'm just kind of looking to see which one has the biggest threat of hail. You can see the hail is there. It's definitely large, but it's not, 2-inch or 2.5-inch that sometimes we see in those giant cells across the southwest or into Texas or the upper plains. But yeah, definitely the torrential rain would be a concern as well. But many locations are dry and they need it, so that's good. Notice here we do also have some pretty strong thunderstorms, but it's a different story. They don't really need the rain. We have flood warnings for all the rivers, and we have more thunderstorms kind of about to bring rain for those locations, so that is something they wouldn't like. Where they do need rain is across the southwest. Notice dangerous heat is on the way. Again, no chance of rain really. They've been super dry. Let's just take a look at Las Vegas, more notable city across this region, although there is many cities under this heat advisory and heat warnings. Look at this. 107, that's not the heat warning criteria yet, only once it gets into 110 plus, which obviously all of this is high and very hot and very unwelcomed. Look at that, not a single chance of rain, which for the southwest, obviously they go for bouts of very long periods of no rain, which seems odd for the people that live, say, anywhere east of the Rockies. But the snowpack from the winter is very low. It's just not good. They're running low. I think the Hoover Dam, the lake that formed behind, I don't know what exactly called, but I think it reaches lowest level on record, and the previous lowest level was in 2016. So you can see right there, there's a red flag warning for Mammoth Lakes. Again, these locations did not pick up much snow during the winter, which is why, again, they're a bit lacking in terms of the water and the supplies for the river. Notice slight chances could be appearing, but again, that's slight, nothing too good. Okay, let's take a look at the Tropical Tidbits GFS model and start taking it through. So notice this is what we have going on today, 1 p.m., a bit underdoing some of the storms across portions across the south and into Florida, but it's definitely there. Notice we have a pretty decent cluster developing across Monday, or really late today, 7 p.m., across the upper peninsula into Wisconsin, right? Could affect portions of Michigan, southern Canada, eventually into the northeast tomorrow. Notice some clusters, while not long-lived, could affect Oklahoma City, northern Texas, maybe portions of Nebraska. Again, even if this isn't well predicted, a lot of these storms sometimes they get fired, they get underway. They could be small, right? A tiny dot on the map, but if you're under that dot, it will feel like the whole world is collapsing on you with all that rain falling. So definitely the summer is tricky with that. You can see these scattered chances. The models, they do a decent job with the larger systems, but there could still be, you could see a stray shower maybe across even as far as Michigan, Ohio tomorrow. Notice some across Nebraska, the south. Nothing really across the southwest. We do have a few pop-up showers, but again, nothing really to put a big dent in the drought, though it has been getting a tad bit better across eastern portions of New Mexico and especially eastern portions of Colorado, where many locations actually at this point are out of the drought. But western Colorado, really most of still New Mexico are just absolutely crippled with that drought. So definitely not good news, and it is obviously progressively starting to get a bit worse across the Midwest. Hopefully, this pattern change will bring some relief. Notice Thursday we could see a large cluster into Iowa and Missouri. There have been several models indicating this. That could be severe mesoscale cluster. Notice it rises during the overnight hours. It's not 1 p.m., it's 1 a.m., meaning there's a lot of forcing to this. It's not basing itself off the diurnal activity from the sun. So it could definitely support probably large hail, some damaging winds. Again, it's far out. We'll have to wait and see what exactly the models show with this. Notice also a ton of precipitation to the south across the Gulf. This is going to go to the north. Hopefully not in the form of anything strong of a tropical disturbance type, but it will be, pummeling a lot of moisture into the southern U.S. where they really don't need it. Notice, look at that. We see a low pressure across southern Canada deliver more clusters of storms and rain into Michigan, Illinois. The European model actually has this quite a bit stronger, this low pressure. Notice it kind of rakes the northern United States across early next week, or late next week into Friday, Saturday, early next weekend. Notice, look at that. We see more moisture across the southwest. That is good. They need that, right? And that will definitely probably be also concerned because sometimes those aggressive thunderstorms cause some flash flooding, especially in hilly terrain. But notice shower storms. It's definitely a bit more active than, say, the beginning half of this week. Look at that. A huge just shield of precipitation. Thunderstorms, definitely a lot of rain with this. And look at that. Another low pressure tracking across southern Canada. Portions of southern Canada this year, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, have been seeing quite a bit of severe weather. I wouldn't say maybe historic amounts, but definitely quite a bit more, especially compared to what has been going on across the Great Lakes, which has been pretty much no severe weather. They have been seeing quite a bit. And notice these low pressures will continue, right? There's that one I talked about into, or late this week into early next weekend. We have another one you could see delivering some severe weather into Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan. Then we have this huge conglomerate of precipitation just finally combining with this cold front pushing into the northeast. As soon as that's done, that precipitation from the west shifts out onto the plains. Notice, look at that. Oklahoma, we see a cluster. Storms just dive down through, again, mainly during the afternoon into the evening hours. So an MCS, mesoscale convective system, predominantly, those are the strongest during the night, and that's when it's the most dangerous. Notice, look at that. A lot of precipitation, while not heavy, kind of showing that a more humid air mass off of California. Hopefully, that could support some more moisture into the parched southwest. Notice, we see at this point, this is June 23rd, a lot of shower activity across the northeast, the plains, the west. So Nevada seeing some good precip. And look, this just dives out. I mean, that right there definitely has potential for severe weather. I wouldn't say historic outbreak, anything of that sort. That would be ridiculous at this point, this far out. It's definitely looking like the second half of June will be more active than the spring, late spring, especially since March did have a few notable severe weather outbreaks that were, some of them, very strong. But, the first half of June, relatively quiet. And, even on the quiet days, we could have something like today where we have decent, amounts of severe weather thunderstorms going on. But these, I think, it definitely will be, for the severe weather lovers that are watching this, I think it will be more exciting. For those that don't want the severe weather, definitely a bit more concerning. It all depends on your perspective of this, but it does look increased, this chance. Again, hard to pinpoint where this will exactly occur. You could see this one has a chance to be strong. If this one doesn't, like the cold front, the next settles across the Virginias right after this, right? I'm just using this as an example. Could have potential. Look at that, southern Canada, the west again. Many areas to watch, and unlike today where you could see it's just going on across two areas, it could be, kind of all over. I mean, look at that. That's pretty much everywhere. And then as we push this into very, very, very far out, notice the active pattern continues. And more mesoscale clusters across the west, kind of central United States, more shifting, I guess, kind of from the southwest further towards the east. But definitely, it stays active, and it looks as if most of the United States is affected by this. The northwest will stay a bit drier and portions of maybe extreme west. But again, if some of these thunderstorms occur even across Nevada, Utah, they could drop a lot of water in a tiny amount of area, which again isn't really good, but that could provide quite a bit of relief. Notice, look at that, Texas staying pretty dry. Again, if you were to look at this, you would say, whoa, that is going to be very dry. And yes, this does favor a dry forecast, but all it takes is just one cluster to come through and deliver, several inches of rain. Which again, severe weather is hard to predict, and I'm not saying that on this specific day there will be severe weather at this distance. It's just that the pattern is favoring a more active weather trend. And notice, there's random pockets that have very high amounts, very low amounts. This is pretty much impossible to predict, and we'll just have to wait and see what exactly happens and unfolds. Notice an area that does have, in general, a lot more confidence is from that tropical disturbance that could be coming, and really in the next 100 to 120 hours could be dropping quite a bit of rain where areas you don't, again, need. It's northwest also missing out quite a bit on that precip, so that's not really good. The Canadian model, if you recall, the GFS was one of the few models that was super excited about this weather change, and the other models weren't really that supportive. Notice the Canadian, look at it, it's finally supporting it. We have that again, a tropical disturbance, which is, for reference, folks that are living across the south, it's not imminent, right? But look at that, at around 130 hours, that's not really super far out. That's considered really more of the short to medium range rather than long. You can see this is going to be going on into early next weekend, so around a week from now it will be already pretty much done and over with. So yeah, definitely there. It doesn't look like a hurricane, but a lot of moisture with it, which could be concerned since a lot of these areas are pretty much swamped with that rain. Notice Canadian does favor some precipitation across the weekend with that cold front across the Midwest. The Northeast also seeing a bit of that precip, but that's a bit earlier on, mainly into Tuesday and Wednesday. The stuff that's going on today across Ohio shifts into the Northeast tomorrow. But do notice that we do see an increase in activity from the Canadian as well, and it does favor, look at Colorado, New Mexico, not large amounts, but it's rain, and that could keep the drought from getting worse across New Mexico, but it definitely will be getting worse across Nevada, California, if the pattern doesn't affect it more. Precip there. Notice, look at that, see? Finally, you have some precipitation scouring areas that have been long missed, like Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, those areas, Iowa, Minnesota, southern Minnesota. So yeah, it only goes out to 240 hours. I can't see what it goes, like 384 hours, like the GFS. This is the European, again, also goes out only to 240, but it's a very good model. Notice it keeps these chances. See, tomorrow across the Northeast, definitely a good chance for thunderstorms. Maybe not severe weather, but probably will be a few severe thunderstorm warnings issued as the air mass is most definitely supportive. Notice that low pressure tracks across southern Canada. Again, it's pretty strong. Starts delivering little bands of showers. Look at that, into the Iowa. If you recall, the GFS showed a pretty strong cluster of storms. The European does show a cluster, not as strong. Again, does show quite a bit of precipitation in the Gulf of Mexico. That is planning to move to the north, and it does that as well. Notice, look at this. It keeps that cold front into Friday, late Thursday. Again, this doesn't look impressive, but it could be way more impressive on radar. If you were to look at this today, you may be looking at this and being like, oh, not that impressive. But again, it's a lot of activity. So, again, a lot of stuff to handle. And again, that does push into the Northeast, as I mentioned. Look at that. So we have that cold front delivering across showers across Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, and look across the South. That thing's just sitting there with tons of precipitation, eventually getting into Louisiana. And then the European, again, takes that low pressure, kind of drives it off the East Coast. And look, it combines this tropical disturbance with moisture from the west. And look, it forms this large system with probably multi-day severe weather, maybe just showery weather pattern. And look, it shifts it towards the east and northeast. Look at that. Derecho potentially. Okay, not a derecho, but the lines of thunderstorms lining up, several of them. And the European definitely shows this excitement. And it shifts it into the northeast. Look at that. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the Northeast, and it kind of gradually shifted out of here. Yeah, definitely an interesting take from the European model, and you can see it shows more precipitation behind it. The temperatures are, in terms of the precip, you could see it does keep things a bit more active. towards the eastern than the west, but some of this I think is a bit underdone, especially if you get a thunderstorm or two. You know, that could easily drop an inch or two of rain within 30 to 40 minutes. In terms of the weather, like the temperatures, notice obviously from that large system, it would be a bit cooler from the cloud cover and rain cool there, but generally speaking, it's going to be a bit warmer rather than cooler. It could get a bit cooler once that pattern change takes hold. And look at that, very warm the start of the week, almost 100% of the United States. A few pockets of where the clouds are, again, maybe a bit cooler. Well, we have a huge area of very warm temperatures across the west, and that does spread towards the east into Thursday and Friday, affecting portions of the Midwest, though it does kind of fizzle out. It's not as strong. And look at that across the Southwest. Very, very, very above average, so that's not good. But look at that. It keeps itself warm for a while. We do see a bit of cool air from Canada kind of come in, and then you can see once that system develops, quite a bit of cool air does come through. But unfortunately, not much relief for the West in terms of cool air or rain, which could be a bad thing. For sure, to say the least. If you're to look at the temperatures while this is occurring, especially during those anomalies, look at that. Or, you know, those days where it could be really hot across the Southwest. It's usually warmer there, right? But look, once it gets 30 degrees above average, yeah, you could be seeing 120 in those areas, without a doubt. And then notice 80s and 90s further towards the east and north. And obviously, once that system does come through, it is going to be a bit cooler. You could see even some 50s towards the upper Great Lakes, but 70s, 80s, right? It's a buoyant air mass. It's definitely enough to cause a lot of thunderstorms to be torrential and causing downpours, and that's why South has been so soaked with this. I want to take a look at the total QPF again because I forgot to look at the South. Yeah, look at that. I mean, if that were to occur, even, you know, look at that 25 that I just see there. Even if it was close to like 10 inches on top of what's already there, that would be a lot. Too much to handle, and yeah, not good. But this does change. You could see the midnight run from yesterday had it quite a bit different. It was consistent with the rain across the south, but notice more rain across North Dakota. Today's run, it keeps it dry. So it just seems like an active pattern is coming. Not necessarily what, exactly where, how much. But notice that, see, a couple days ago, it was showing much drier because it didn't go out that far. But now it's starting to pick up on that pattern. And you can see it's about a lot more wetter. Let's take a look at the UK Met. Decent model. Doesn't go out as far, but notice that this first half of the week should be rather dry. It does start picking up into next weekend with that cold front across the Midwest. Keeps some of that precip away from Louisiana, however. And so that could be more of a good thing. The NAM, it's an 84-hour long model, so more of a short range model. And yeah, you can see more activity across the Northeast rather than the central United States. This is a RAP, which is just a bit too high res for now. Let's take a look at this model. RDPS Canadian. Yeah, you can see across the Northeast quite a bit of rain could fall tomorrow, but not that much across the central US. But again, some of this stuff's hard to predict and is rather random in nature. And yeah, that's basically all I wanted to go over. This is the CFS, a super long range climate model. And yeah, obviously this one shows a lot of rain because it's 570 hours out. You can see definitely favoring the east and the northeast rather than the southwest. And if you're to take a look at the model run from midnight, yeah, you can see pretty active. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. Stay safe, stay cool, and see ya.